Hello everyone, welcome to our course on the fundamental of traditional Chinese medicine. In this module, we will get into a few core theories of MTC. Let's begin with the theory of Zangfu organs. Here is the course objectives we will talk about in today's class. First, understand the basic concepts of the 5 Zang and 6 Fu. Second, grasp the core principles of Zangfu theory. Third, understand the relationship between the theory of Zangfu organs and the 5-element theory. Let's start with the brief historical background of Zangfu theory. This theory can be tracked back to the Huangdi Neijing, the Yellow Empire's inner canon, over 2,000 years ago. If you don't remember Huangdi Neijing, you can go back to the history of MTC class to check. We have the detailed explanation of Huangdi Neijing in that class. Now let's go back to the Zangfu theory. What is 5 Zang and 6 Fu? In TCM theory, the 5 Zang organs typically refer to the heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys. The 6 Fu organs include the gallbladder, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, bladder, and the triple energizer. In Chinese, we call 三焦. But sometimes you may hear the 6 Zang and 6 Fu. So what is the extra Zang in this one? The answer is, in some TCM theories, the pericardium is considered as a 6th Zang organ. The pericardium, also known as the heart protector, is seen as a special tissue protecting the heart. It plays a significant role in TCM theory, especially in terms of emotional activities and circulatory system. Another common question about 6 Fu is what is triple energizer? 三焦. 三焦 is a unique term, exists and defined in Chinese traditional medicine, belongs to one of the 6 Fu. Its main function are to pass virus kind of qi and to serve as the pathway of body fluid. It divided into 3 parts: the upper energizer, middle energizer, and lower energizer. The upper energizer usually refer to the part above the diaphragm, including the heart, lungs, and head as well. The middle energizer refers mainly to the abdominal part between the diaphragm and umbilicus, includes spleen, stomach, liver, and gallbladder. The lower energizer refers generally to the portion located below the stomach, including the small intestine, large intestine, kidneys, bladder, and etc. The triple energizer with related Zangfu organs each have its own function to perform a complicated physiological process in digestion, absorption, distribution, and excretion. Next, let's get into the basic concept of Zangfu theory. Unlike the Western medicine, MTC focused more on the function of organs rather than their anatomical structures. In MTC theory, Zang and Fu organs have different characteristics and functions. This brings us to 2 important concepts. Storage without excretion mainly describes the characteristics of the 5 Zang organs: heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys. Imagine the 5 Zang organs as 5 boxes, each storing different qi. For example, the heart stores the spirit, which means our consciousness and mental activities. The lungs store the corporeal power, which managing our breathing rhythm. The spleen stores the thought, holding our thinking abilities. The liver stores the soul, keeping our emotional regulation capabilities. And kidney stores will, governing reproduction and growth. On the opposite, excretion without storage refers to the characteristics of six full organs. We can compare the six full organs to transpiration systems. They are responsible for processing and transporting substance rather than long-term storage. For example, stomach is like a food processing station, receiving food and passing it to small intestine, which act as the sorting center. That's why we call them excretion without storage. Now let's look at the relationship between the Zangfu theory and the five element. But why we need to mention the five element here? In the previous class, we talked about the basic concept of MTC, which is yin-yang theory, qi, and five element. Here we think about how yin-yang works in MTC. We combine yin-yang with everything around us: food, nature, our body, and even emotions. And then, by understanding the relationship between yin-yang, based on that, we can learn how to balance and harmonize our body. It's the same principle between five elements and Zangfu theory. Now let's get into the correspondence of five elements and our organs. Liver is wood, like a tree. It has the characteristic of growing and spreading. Heart is fire, warm and promotes blood circulation like a flame. Spleen is earth, nourishes and supports the other organs like the earth. Lungs is gold, strong as metal and managing the body's defense system. Kidneys are water, nourish the body like water and regulate fluid metabolism. To summarize, today we have learned, first, what is five zang and six fu, why sometimes it's six organs, and what is triple energizer. Second, the characteristic and functions of five zang and six fu, which is storage without excretion and excretion without storage. Third, the correspondence between the Zangfu theory and the five element, and also why it's important to understand the five element. In Chinese medicine, the human body is an interconnected whole, with each part interacting with the other. In the next lesson, we will dive into the specific functions of each internal organ and their interconnections. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask and we will see you in the next lesson.